Hi everyone, this is Miss Longley, and today we are going to be covering the cell cycle. We'll be covering objectives 4, 7, and 8 today. This screencast is going to be a little long, so we're splitting it into two. The first part is going to focus on the division of cells, prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells. And so for this, there really is no packet page. So instead, you're going to be using your notebook or a blank page found in your packet. Screencast number 2 will then focus on a more detailed look at eukaryotic cell cycle. And so for that, you will use your packet page number 5. So let's go ahead and start with the division of cells. Go ahead and take out your notebook. In your notebook, you're going to be making this table. You may remember this from a previous lesson. So you can feel free to make an extension of it or make a brand new one. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting the division of cells between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Let's start with the prokaryotic cell, shall we? So prokaryotic cells, remember, these are bacteria cells, and they contain one chromosome. They're very simple. So their chromosome, their DNA, is floating inside the cytoplasm, and it's a circular shape, so it's connected in a loop. So prokaryotic cells, when they need to make more cells reproduce, they use a process called binary fission. So binary fission, as a result, is going to produce two identical offspring cells. We also call these daughter cells. So daughter cells is referring to the offspring. This whole process is asexual reproduction because we only require one parent cell. So looking at this picture below here, you can see that we have one parent cell. It's going through binary fission, and as a result, it produces two daughter cells that are identical not only to each other, but to the original parent cell. All right, let's take a more in-depth look at binary fission. So again, we're starting off with one parent cell. It's getting ready to reproduce, so it's going to make a copy of its one chromosome, and then it's going to start to elongate, and basically it pinches off in the middle and produces two daughter cells that are identical. And that's binary fission, pretty simple. Eukaryotic cells, a little bit more complex. So eukaryotic cells use a different process called mitosis. So mitosis is where somatic cells, and I'll get to what that word means in a minute, uses to produce two identical daughter cells. So it may seem that it's similar to binary fission, but it ends right there. It's a little bit more time-consuming and complex. So what kind of cells are somatic cells? Basically any cell found in the body, skin cells, liver cells, stomach cells, but there's an exception to one cell that does not use this process to divide. And those are the sex cells. So sperm and egg use a different process. We will talk about that process later next semester, but just know that every cell in the body, except for those two cells, uses mitosis to grow and make more cells and to replace damaged or old cells. This too, just like prokaryotic cells, is an example of asexual reproduction because it only requires one parent cell. So let's take a look at what that looks like using this diagram here. And my picture is just not moving. There we go. So again, somatic cells use mitosis to produce new offspring. So we're starting off with our parent cell. Notice we can see these chromosomes here. It's going to go through a process of replicating its DNA. Here we can see the replicated chromosomes, and it's going to split into two cells. Obviously, it's a little bit more complex than this picture is showing, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So at the end, we now have two identical daughter cells to each other as well as to the original parent cell. And that's key. We want these cells to be the same because they are basically replacing the old cells. And we want to make sure that they're exactly the same. And that concludes our lesson. So go ahead and start the next screencast.